This is the story of many firsts. The story begins and ends with saudade. What exactly is saudade? A Portuguese word with no English translation, a word that describes the deep aching feeling of longing or love. Shortly after my 23rd birthday, on a whim, I decided to ditch an internship and travel to Brazil instead. You can imagine the scowls and lectures this inspired in my mother. I guess you could say it was saudade for adventure that called me to Brazil. Oh, and the fact that I was training capoeira 5 days a week and wanted to experience capoeira in its land of origin. Capoeira is a Brazilian martial art that combines combat, dance, acrobatics, and is played in a circle where two players dialogue through movement. The exact roots of capoeira is a mystery, but it is known to have been created by slaves using movements and rituals from their homelands in Africa and evolved in the plantation environment as players would disguise their martial training as dances in order to foil slave owners. I was a capoeira fanatic at the time, to say the least. I arrived in Brazil a few days before New Year's Eve. After spending some time in Rio de Janeiro, we came to the place that came to feel like a second home to me, Bahia. A most beautiful state in the northeast of Brazil, rich in history, culture, and beautiful natural landscapes. Salvador is the capital of Bahia. Salvador was once the capital of Brazil during Portuguese colonial times because it was the first stop along the ship route bringing African slaves to Brazil and a center of the sugar exporting business, and therefore an economic center of the colony. The city's historic center of town is the Pelourinho, a neighborhood that is now the center of tourism in Bahia and full of cultural organizations, events, shops, and restaurants. The Pelourinho is where I made my home for a couple of months. It was love at first sight, at first smell, and at first move. Yes, first move. Shortly after arriving, some tool decided to kick me in the kneecap during capoeira practice. So after a few relaxing days at the beach, I decided to take a dance class instead. That was all it took. I was hooked. I was in dance class at least twice a day from that day forward, and smiling all day. But in Salvador, the studio is not the place to dance. One dances in the streets, in religious ceremonies, to celebrate with friends, even strangers. To dance is to live in the moment. Carnaval is a time when Brazilians forget their sorrows, for many their poverty, and live the joy, the togetherness that life can bring. During this beautiful season in Salvador, I danced in the streets with strangers for 3 days straight during Carnaval. I processed to the beach to offer flowers and gifts to the Yoruba goddess Iemanjá. I watched the steps of the Church of the Senhor do Bonfim, met new people, and got to know myself a little bit better. For me, this trip was the awakening of an inner gift, a new way of life that changed me for the better. Dance gives me joy, love, peace, happiness, sisterhood, and balance. It connects me to the moment and reminds me that life is precious and must be lived as if each day was your last. Brazilians taught me an optimism to life, connection to nature and to each other. I like to think that this was my internship in life that educated me in ways that a few months in Washington, D.C. couldn't have. I launched onto a different path, but it was my path. These colorful ribbons are lembranças, meaning a keepsake or remembrance. I still have some from my trip. They remind me of the saudade, the love and longing I have for Salvador, a magical time of growth, strengthening, and awakening in my life. I hope to share this place with my children someday, and I'm happy that I could share it with you.